We are on. Hello, all of you beautiful people. One, I need to first apologize for being so late. This was supposed to start at 7 o'clock, but as a lot of you know, I just started teaching at an African Center school, and I did promise the kings or the young kings at the school that I would attend all of their basketball games if possible. So I had to go to a game, I had to pick children up, and I had to drop them off as well. So please excuse my tardiness as no excuse because we must all be on time. Remember that, but that is the reason why this is starting at 9 o'clock. But thank you for your patience. I, of course, am Elohim Ali, the creator of the New Bible, Al-Qamed, School of Five Rules of the Fellowship Incorporated. Um, and I'm here to teach, honestly. And lately we have been teaching uh, polygamy. So first of all, let's talk about what polygamy is. Polygamy is being married to multiple people, period. Being married to multiple people, okay, consensually, being married to multiple people. So it's not behind people's back, it's not a secret, it's not cheating, but it is being married to multiple people. Um, under in that, not underneath that, but in that umbrella term, you have things like polygyny, and you have the rare form of polygamy like polyandry. Polygyny is one man, multiple wives. Polyandry is one woman, multiple husbands. Okay? And polygyny is the popular form in the African or the African traditional form because you can find almost anything in Africa, but the African traditional form of a marriage. So briefly, let me tell you guys about the history on polygamy because a lot of people don't know that monogamy as a mainstream marriage has only been practiced on the earth for about 300 years, give or take. Okay? Prior to that, not only were the Africans polygynous, most of the world was polygynous. Okay? And who came in and forced monogamy was Christianity. Now, is that me saying that all of you should be polygynous? No. Is that me saying that I hate monogamy? No. But this is the historical facts. Okay, now yes, you will find polyandry in some societies, but it is rare because it is harder to reproduce as such and multiple other reasons. But polygyny is the most popular form of polygamy. A lot of people in the community or network today are actually practicing pre-polygamy or polyamory. Polyamory is being with multiple people, consensual, without being married to them. Okay, so they all must know that you're with them. It's consensual and you're not married. There was no ceremony. There was uh, no vows. There were no laws. There was nothing. People just got together and decided they wanted to be together. Wow, that person was with somebody else. That is polyamory. Okay, so now that we're getting familiar with all the terms, a lot of people like to ask me, well, what happens to the kids? What happens to the children? You don't think it's abuse? You don't think that there's anything wrong with children coming up and seeing that? You don't think they're going to come out disturbed? And I often tell them, you'd be surprised that most of these children, especially in Africa, come out wealthy, intelligent, well versed. Um, so people don't like to hear from me because I am not a child of polygamy. People want to hear from the children themselves, and that's what brought me here to this event. Now, this event will be the introduction to the other events. The event after this will be Are Men Made for Monogamy, which will be an all-male panel. The panel after that will be what you guys have been waiting for so patiently, Polygamy or Nah Part 2. Now, I must apologize because of Polygamy Part 1, Polygamy or Nah Part 1. It's a lot of arguments that shouldn't have happened there. But I promise this time it will be hosted a lot better, and I'll be a lot more strict about my respect policies and rules. So I do hope that you engage yourself into that event because it will be very educational. It's an all-woman panel, and everybody in the panel who are on the side of polygamy have been involved in polyamory, pre-polygamy, or polygamy itself. That was the requirements. You had to be involved in one of those. And the people on the monogamous side, there is at least one queen who has been involved in polyamory or polygamy who's speaking against it. So it's going to be very interesting. I advise you go check it out. Please be open-minded at all times. Now we're having technical difficulties with one of our panelists, but he may or may not pop up later. His mic wasn't working, and he's trying to fix the volume on his laptop, and he will return to us. But right now, we have a good brother of mine. He's in my social fellowship. He is a groove. All right, his name is Amara. Please introduce yourself, brother.
Peace to be on to you, brother. My name is Amar Carbo. I am, as said, a brother of Groove for Groove Social Fellowship Incorporated, as well as a child of polygamy on my father's side.
Where? Um, so right now you're the only person here, so this discussion will be back and forth with me and you. But I have a lot of questions to ask you, a lot of questions that I got from the community, and so first and foremost, before we start anything off, just for everybody to know, there are like many types of cultural polygyny and polygamy to be involved in. There's a religious kind where your father, your mother might be a Muslim. And there's the African-centered side where you know your father, your mother just want to get back into their African roots. And then last but not least, there is of course just people wanting to be free from societal rules. Which category do you think you will fall into the most?
I really want to say my dad picked it for religion,
Word.
but there is a good chance like it was probably also by choice along the way.
Word.
Because my parents are Muslim, definitely. But as the years went on and I got older and I started seeing things, you start to see that it kind of like not became more about religion, it came less about it and more about so my dad's choice
Mm.
in um wanting to have more than just one partner.
Okay. All right. Now that gets us into the question. So now we know um, what type of polygyny you were involved in. How was it growing up in a house that had multiple wives, or when you did go to your father's house? How was that? Was it weird for you? Was it strange? Did you ever ask your dad about it? How was it for you? What do you remember about it?
Honestly, the earliest memory I have is just like my parents were not together, so I went to my dad's house on the weekend. The earliest memory I have is honestly, I just walked in and it was like my stepbrother there, and it's like, oh, hey, auntie, what's going on? And every weekend I was over there, me and my brother. Every weekend she made us food and like just watch TV cartoons. It was, I don't know, it was kind of normal. Like it wasn't like the big thing in the movie is like, oh my gosh, like who is this strange woman? It was just like, yeah, it kind of just, it really just, it kind of like smoothly went in. It's like, it was kind of like one of those things guys hope to always have. Like he can just casually bring in a woman and it's like, yeah, guys, so that's your stepmother now. So it kind of actually did kind of go that way.
Okay. Did your friends ever make it weird for you? Did they ever like, yo, what's going on? Like, did your friends ever say anything?
Nah, not really. I mean, because my mother's side, my friend. I got my friends who stay around my mother's area, and then
Mm.
I had my peoples on my dad's area. So it was never really
Okay.
weird. I mean, honestly, it was mainly my family
Mm.
who really knew about it like that. And even then, it was like never really a big deal because, like I said, I got uncles who are like participating as well. So, you know,
Well, you know what? Just not to cut you off, brother, but I'm already getting comments in a text message about the lack of a feminine presence. Just know I did reach out, and it's not hard to find children of polygamy. And
mm,
the female who was going to be on this panel had a meeting today because she has important things to do. as well in her life, and she could not meet the 8 or 9 o'clock deadline. So just to let everybody know, this is not like a whole masculine thing, and that's why we're having an all-female presence in polygamy or not. So I'm sorry, but I just had to make that clear to some of my criticism that I'm already getting.
No, no, it's all
You know,
good. It's good to
um,
make sure they know.
yeah, exactly. So do you feel like this type of marriage helped you, or did it hurt you? Like, because a lot of people say that, they feel like it's child abuse if um if a child is in a house that polygamy or polygyny is involved in. So what would you say to somebody who says um it's child abuse to have your child raised in that type of environment?
Mm, I'd say it's a slight, more than a slight exaggeration. I think it's a little far for us to go say as child abuse. I mean, obviously, if you're in a household where no abuse is actually taking place, sure. But that's just my own opinion because, I'm kind of right now, I'm in a place where I see the world has gotten a little too sensitive.
Mm,
So,
mm,
child abuse, no. As for whether it helped me or not, I'd say it did because ultimately um I got to see more and experience more, and I got to see a lot more places and did a lot more things with
mm.
my pops and and his second woman, and at the end of it, I got more family out of it. Out of that, she brought her son.
A
That's
fair
my
point.
brother. You know, and my dad and her ended up having a kid, so I got another brother. And then, like I said, her son got married. So there you go. I got a sister, and then she comes with another sister, and they come with a brother, and them two had kids. She already had a kid, so it's like, yo, people could say that, yo, it's child abuse, or it's like it's not helpful for the child, but it's like, well, how so? Because not every I won't say that every experience will be the same as mine, because definitely there's not always going to be the perfect situation. I won't say mine was even perfect. There's had its faults, but I believe that you can. There's more to gain as long as you're open minded to it, if you wish to see it that way. But it's all in the perception of how you view it. To be
Word.
honest,
So what are the pros and cons, right, that you see for children in a polygamous household? What are the pros and the cons? So let's start off with the cons first. What are the cons that you might have not noticed for yourself, or may have noticed for yourself, but you just know that kids may or may not go through in a polygamous household? And then we'll talk about the pros.
um, well, there's always going to be that concern about whether or not the child will recognize who is their main parent or who is their step parent. Because if you growing up how I did, I never really differentiated between step parents or your real parents. Honestly, because I called my stepmother auntie, but that was still my stepmother. You know what I mean? And ultimately,
Mhm.
she treated me no differently than her own children. You know what I mean? Um, another con is, of course the cons of that is, you may occasionally have to deal with having to hear about, oh, who's this person. But then again, that's stuff you would see in any, even in a monogamous
Mm.
marriage or relationship. Like, who's the, no one, the same things you could see in a monogamous relationship, you can definitely see in a polygamous relationship. So, I wouldn't even really want to say there are differential cons, honestly.
Okay. So, what are some of the pros you think are for children who are in polygamous or polygynous households?
Definitely the pros would be it's more nurturing and support. Definitely I can speak from my own experience, coming that I am African, so I come from I grew up in the belief that the village raises the child. So
Mm,
literally, I didn't just have I had my mom and dad. I had my stepmother. I got my brothers, and we had my aunts and uncles, and of course I had my stepmother's own family too. So you know what I'm saying? They looked at me and my brothers, their niece and nephew too. So there's always that family aspect. It's literally a family aspect that is the greatest pro of that when
mm,
you get a chance to just really sit down and interact with them. Honestly, I think that's what made my experience maybe I don't want to say better, but I'll say I've had a greater experience than some others may say because
mm.
I got more of that family aspect even till today.
Okay. Well, my cousin Jabari just got back. So, can you please introduce yourself, who you are, and what type of polygynous environment you grow up in? Was it a religious type or African centered type, or was it just like people who just wanted to be free? I know, but the audience doesn't know.
Okay, well, my name's Jabari Kalanji. I'm a college student right now, studying for education major, and the polygamous environment I'm in, it's really more of a religious environment. My father's Muslim, so he believes in having multiple wives if he chooses so, and it's something I've grown up around, so really I accept it.
Word. Okay, well, let me ask you some of the questions that I asked my good brother over here, since he was holding it down. You know, how was it growing up in a house that had multiple wives in it? Or how was it just being around, like as a kid, with your knowing that your father has multiple wives? How was that?
Well, at first I didn't even really realize what was going on. To me it was like, I had a stepmother, and I didn't even really know that I had another stepmother until I was introduced to her. So once I kind of had to conceptualize that, it wasn't really too hard for me to accept it. I mean, I wasn't used to seeing that in our usual society, but I don't know, to me it just seemed like it wasn't that bad if both of them accepted it. And he was explaining it to me, and I don't really remember the exact words he said, but basically it was along the lines of, like that's what our religion believes, and so to me, if that's what they believe, then who am I to say it's wrong or right? That's my father, so I accept it. And it wasn't it didn't really come into play too often. I mean, usually I spent most of my time with, you know, with the wife that had children, whereas the other wife didn't have children. So usually I'd spend most of my time with her. So I was growing up with my brothers, and that's the kind of life it was. It was just kind of like, a stepmom and two kids, and the other wife was kind of just, kind of like a shadow. And I saw her sometimes, but for the most part, it was mostly just one of the wives, as opposed to
Mm,
seeing the two of them often.
mm. So let me ask you, and all that going on, because like I said, I'm pretty much asking what I just asked your brother. Do you feel like that type of relationship, helped you in your life, or did it hurt you? Did it help you as a child, or do you think it may have hurt you?
Well, if I had to choose one or the other, I'd say that it helped me, honestly, because you know it was something that I wasn't akin to, or that I wasn't accustomed to. So to me, it's like, instead of feeling like, you know life is so small, and there's so much that you have to do, and things that you have to live a certain way. I got to experience something that was a bit out of my comfort zone. So to me it was like, it's like being cultured. So I get to see that part of human society.
Mm.
So I think it was a good thing.
Now, you said that one. I have to ask this question because I know many are going to think this in their head, and I want to ask it to you watching. What do you mean by, one of your moms was like a shadow? You know, and did that affect you when you see her? Does she feel like a shadow? Does she feel like just like a shadow mom? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's strange, but I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I don't know from her position how she feels about it. And it's a different wife now. It's not even the same one, but it's
Mm,
it's kind of like separate. It's kind of like I wasn't really a part of, her family in a way. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, I don't know how she considered me, but to me, it was kind of like she was separate.
mm,
And I mean, I never had a problem with her. In fact, I loved her. She was my stepmom, another stepmom. So, I loved her, but, we didn't spend too much time together, so we didn't really get to know each other,
mm,
and it didn't really happen for any particular reason,
mm.
but she just wasn't really a part of it. I spent more time with my brothers, and I think that that was by design, and also a little bit by choice. I mean, I kind of chose to be with my brothers. I mean, I could have had it either way, but I kind of chose to be with my brothers because I just kind of felt that it would be better to be with them. So it wasn't even so much about her, it was about the brothers.
Oh, so the fact that your other mom or your father's other wife had children,
Mm.
it made it kind of easier to be around her versus the other wife who did not have
Yeah,
children.
basically, yeah, it was kind of like the one that had children, was just kind of more so acceptable to me. And I guess the whole reason for that was because I felt like I should help, with the children, and
Mm,
be there. Like I felt like I should be a part of that family, whereas the other woman who, it isn't necessarily her fault that she didn't have children. I don't know the story, but it just kind of felt like she was on her own. And now I'm thinking back, it kind of would have probably been, more beneficial to her or to me to be with her as well, or to at least kind of spread that time out. But as I'm thinking about it, it's like the way things kind of happened. It's strange to think about because it didn't even work out between the two of them, my father and
okay.
her. But like strictly about polygamy, the thing about it that made it kind of strange was that I guess subconsciously I was just kind of like more geared towards the one who did have children, like you were saying,
Mm,
just maybe because of the children themselves,
mm.
and I don't know, it kind
So
of made her more relatable, like more of a mother.
so Mara, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that you know one of the wives having children kind of helps the bonding of the families and you know that motherly feel? Do you feel like that helped your situation?
I definitely did because my stepmother, like I said, she had kids even before
Hmm.
she and my pops met. But it definitely helps. It definitely does because being that she is a mother, she understands what it means to have kids, what it means to have to nurture them. So she, of course, just like Jabari said, the one who has the kids as opposed to the one who doesn't have the kids, you could relate more to her because it's like she's more. I don't want to say she's more motherly, but being that she is a mother, then yeah, she is more motherly. So you, especially if she has the kids, and those are your brothers, those are your sisters. Then of course you're gonna be around them because that's those are your siblings. That's your blood. So yeah, or even if it's not your blood, it's still the fact that they are. It's just a bond you have. It's just the sibling bond that's there, that's created, and it's because of that there's always going to be the bond to their mother that you have. But but I'll say this much: even if you didn't have kids, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't you can't be close to them as Jabari said, because definitely you can still have loved somebody even if they didn't have kids.
Yeah, most
You
definitely. And
know.
now let me ask y'all a very important question. Did y'all have respect for y'all second or third mothers? Did y'all respect them, or Was it hard to respect them? You know, all the same. What like did you respect them as mothers? Let's just speak on the respect part. We're gonna start with Jabari and then make it back over to Amar.
To me, respecting them actually did come into question for a little while. I mean, I had to think, like being one of two is kind of something that I wasn't used to, with monogamous relationships and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing was that, once I was, and I always just, and to me, I just decided I would suspend any type of like disrespect. I wouldn't be disrespectful. I wouldn't see it as not being respectful. I would just decide to give respect, but when being around them and talking to them, it really allowed me to respect them. It really gave me that perspective of they're still people that deserve to be respected. There's nothing less about them just because they decided to be a part of that, just because that's their religious belief. There's no reason why they would deserve to be respected any less. So to me, it was just like, it was very fleeting that I had the question of respect. And once I experienced that myself with polygamy, the whole thing is, anyone in a polygamous relationship would garner respect for me now, because I understand where they're coming from. I understand that level of religious belief, and that level of just understanding about yourself, that you could be a part of a relationship where you're one of two wives or one of three wives or something like that.
Mm. Okay. Amara.
Um, yeah, my parents are. I come from an African and Caribbean household, so
Mm.
respect was just it was just a given. It's just like, yeah, I don't give a damn who they are. Respect them, especially being that obviously I'm gonna respect the woman who gave birth to me. I'm gonna
Mm.
respect the man who helped create me, and then obviously um that's my family. So you kind of had to. It wasn't even, respect wasn't even a thing of discussion. I guess it was just like, yeah, you were gonna do it regardless of you liked them or not. So when you saw them, you greeted them, good morning, how you doing, hey, what's going on, or even if it was just, oh well, you may not like her, but you still have to respect her. But I mean, like I said, I love my stepmother, so it was all good and gravy.
Word. Okay. All right. Because a lot of people are afraid that the children won't respect the mother, the other mother, or the other wife because she's second, quote unquote. So it's very interesting to hear that. Now this is one of the last questions before we go into just a
I
free
was gonna see if I
discussion.
What?
Oh, go
right.
ahead.
Just because for me, they were both the other wives. My mom is not one of the two wives. So to me, it's
I
like they're
wanted to
both
hit on that too.
stepmothers.
Mm,
And to me, I had to give them respect anyway, because
mm,
just being in that situation, like knowing that my dad chose that woman, and it didn't work out between my mom. It was kind of like the
yeah.
whole
Right.
divorce thing was kind of an interesting
Yeah,
situation. But
that's
I
like a
never. Huh?
stepchild thing too. Now I just
Yeah,
added on. That's like more of a stepchild thing, and I could relate to that.
exactly.
Yeah,
To where it's
So,
like you give them respect automatically, basically.
I'm
now
about
I
to
wanted to
say
ask
even
you.
I
Oh,
was
go
actually
ahead.
gonna,
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I was gonna say like if it ever comes to a point that people feel like, oh, they're not, that person is the kids aren't gonna respect the other mother,
Oh,
then that's something that needs to be taken up with the father.
I'll be
Ultimately,
up in a minute.
that has to be something that's taken up with the father, because obviously the father chose to take this path. He selects the women that's going to be around his children, so ultimately it's going to be his responsibility that respect is instilled and enforced. But
Now
you know,
that's all a good point because a lot of it does also lay on the father. But I wanted to ask Jabari before I go into the last question before the free discussion. I want to ask Jabari. Now I haven't seen your mom in a while, but I still love your mom. I wanted to know whether or not I want to ask, was it hard for you also to respect polygamy? Because I can imagine how your mom, viewed it and how she would respond to finding out that her ex-husband was now going to have two wives. So how was that? You know.
I mean, it was funny. I mean, cause you know, mom and I didn't know much about dad until we started kind of talking recently. It's been like maybe about this year, and we started talking, and I see his philosophy about relationships and things like that, and and my mom, being who she is, she's more of a kind of a really strong person, really like powerful. So she wouldn't be about that type of thing at all. So it's like thinking about it like that. It's just like, I mean, if I had to
No,
think about it from her perspective,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say if I had to think about it from her perspective, I mean, she probably expected it. To say she was surprised, I would doubt she was very surprised.
Oh,
You know,
okay. Now I have to ask. I cannot let it go. A word slipped out when you described your mother, and it seemed like in contrast to women who do polygamy, because a lot of women are going to want me to ask this. Now, when you say that your mom's strong and powerful, do, are you implying in any type of way? I'm not saying you are, but are you implying in any type of way that a woman who does engage in polygamy or polygyny is not strong or powerful?
well, I wouldn't say that they're not strong or powerful, but to me, this type of thing kind of comes innately with a little bit of subservient feelings, like maybe just, you have to accept the fact that someone else is there. And I think that Western society, being what it is, kind of puts that in a different area. Like, it's kind of like saying, like, you're the only one, like my mom would say that, and does it really relate to strength or power? The difficult That's a difficult question. Actually, if I have to be honest, I would say it's not so much strength or power. I would say that the difference between my mom and someone or a woman who would go into polygamy is their upbringing, right, and what they're taught. For my mom, it's like she could only be the only woman, and that might be part of the reason why it didn't work out. I don't know. That's just like speculation. But, for someone who's in that polygamous situation, I don't feel like it's so much not being powerful or not being strong, because really it takes strength to allow that type of thing to be, or to accept
Mm,
that, in my opinion. It takes some strength to be like, well, you know, I'm not the only woman, but that doesn't mean that I'm not the woman. Like,
mm,
but
that's
then
deep.
again, I think it's so ingrained in Western society to be against polygamy
Mm.
that it's hard to speak on, because I know that part of me is saying like I couldn't really do that. I couldn't really
Well, hold on. We're
engage
going
in
to get
that.
into that. Well, we're about to get into that now. So the
Okay.
next question, we're going to start with Amara, and then we're going to go to Jabari. All right?
Nope.
So, could you ever possibly find yourself in a polygamous type marriage?
Um,
Why or why not?
Honestly, I'll be honest. Can't. I can if I wanted to, but I personally don't have the desire to, just because I'm honestly like a lazy motherfucker. So,
I think
like,
you're
sir,
honest, brother. I
nah,
think
you
you're
got.
honest.
Nah, because honestly, it takes special. It does actually take special traits to be in a polygamous relationship. Just as you
Fact.
questioned, um, does the person have the strength? Well, in my opinion, it doesn't. It's not a matter of how strong you are, spiritually and emotionally, but rather it takes a special strength to be in one. It takes a special type of strength to say, okay, this man loves me, but he also loves another woman. You know what I mean? And it takes a special strength, because you can't. You can't always say, oh well. You can't even say, oh, this person's weak because she allows her husband to have another wife. Nah, because fact of the matter is, ju- there are people out here who have that type of who have enough love to give to multiple people. Would I personally do it? Not really, because I'm kind of lazy. Because, like I said, just to handle one woman is like, yo, you need 110%. You have to be able to do that, and it's like, then you got to think about what the type of temperament they have, who they are, like the tendencies they type of have. You got to take that. You got to take that all in consideration. That's just for one woman.
That's
So,
word.
so imagine if you decide, all right, I want a second woman. So then you got to think, all right, if I have this one type of woman, for example, you got a strong woman right on your left, okay? Like she has her days where she be wilding out on you for no reason. But then again, I say that it's a lot of women like they're gonna have their days. But I'm not a misogynist, not to be confused. But 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 then you think, okay, I have this other woman. She's more mild mannered, more chill, I guess. More of as Jabari said, a submissive manner. So then you got to think. Then there's going to always be that issue of, oh man, he got this one girl. He got the one girl that pretty much is the ride or die. She knows what she does, and then he got the other one that she just does whatever she says, and it's like, nah, that's not the case. It's just a matter of what works for that individual. So, like I said, I'm a person. If I'm gonna give my all, I'm gonna give my all. So I understand that I can't give my all to more than one person just because of the fact that more than likely I'm going to end up with a crazy woman anyway. It's just been my luck. I end up with these crazy women, but obviously based off my preferences and based off the person who I know I am, you got to be a certain type of person to handle me, especially in the things I do, the way I think, um, and in my beliefs. You definitely got to be somebody who you can't be an overly sensitive person to certain shit because um, just like how there's a lot of just like us there, we have our own beliefs about religion, spirituality. We have our own beliefs that not everybody's going you know um, accept our views without judgment. So it kind of goes like that. You
Most
just
definitely.
you
Most
know
definitely.
you gotta definitely think about um
I mean, it takes a certain type of man to really say, like, yo, honestly, I would like to, but it's a lot because it's funny you said that. I was having a discussion with somebody. They're like, what is the man really sacrificing? Me and her was having a debate about polygyny and polygamy, and I'm like,
you
wow. I'm like,
you remember.
he gives a lot, and I think that people kind of because a woman has to go through it as well. I think that
Mhm.
people undermine what the man also has to go through, and having two wives, and what type of pressure is put on him, what type of attention he has to give, what type of energy he has to lay out, and
Definitely.
so it's
Do you,
very,
do, do
very.
you do you do you remember the conversation we first had when we brought up polygamy before you came up with these debate shows?
Which
We were
which one?
we had it in our group chat when we were talking about
Ah,
like,
all the
yeah.
swings got so
Yo,
upset.
yeah,
I
and
remember.
definitely the thing I remember I believe I brought up was we got to if you decide you want to get engaged into this polygamy stuff, we got to weed out these people. I mean, these brothers especially. We really gotta talk about these brothers who want to live the polygamy lifestyle but can't afford it.
Yes,
We
true.
need to we need to scratch that out
You know what's funny? You know
because
what's
it's
funny?
giving
We're
polygamy a bad name.
actually doing a whole discussion. Me and a sister named Ayana. Some would call Ayana the goddess. Some would
Mm,
call it Divine Stargate. And we're coming up with do's and don'ts for polygamy, what polygamy is and isn't. Um, because you're right. Well, what I noticed, brother, before we cut over to Jabari, what I actually noticed is that there's a lot of people. Remember at the beginning, I defined what pre-polygamy is,
Yeah.
polyamory is, polygamy, because a lot of people that you're even talking about aren't even really engaged in polygamy. Okay, just because you have, for example, I can sit here and say that I'm in a polyamorous relationship. I can say that I'm in a pre-polygamous relationship, right? I can say that right now, but I cannot say that I'm in a polygamous relationship. And the reason being is because let's say you brothers say, yeah, or let's say two women come to you, they're sisters, and they say, you know what, we both want to be with you. And you're like, word? I'm with it, right? And y'all together. Y'all not married. Y'all are not. And to be in polygamy, you have to be married. You have to be married. I really want to stress it to the viewers. If you don't have a ceremony, if you don't have vows, if you don't have any type of engagement, any type of ritual, because you know you ain't gonna get the paperwork for it, because you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm about to say technically it's
You
illegal
have
here.
to do something. You know what I'm saying. If there's no union of the household, then you are technically engaged in polyamory, and it's pre-polygamy when you decide that one day we're going to be married. And then so I agree, brother. I think we had not only with the whole, brothers getting married, because brothers getting married, period, without no money, but
Yeah.
also brothers, people calling polygamy being just with two women, just having two
Yeah.
girlfriends. That's not polygamy.
Yeah, I think that's the problem because there's a lot of misrepresentation. There's a lot of lack of knowledge of people. They're misquoted on the definition of what it really is, of what polygamy is, as opposed to what is just being in a polyamorous relationship. You know,
Exactly. And then,
so
like I said, it's about building. So yeah, you can do polyamory, you can do polygamy, but that's building. Once you marry somebody, I don't care if it's
yeah,
monogamy. Once you are married, you have to have a house, you have to have a career, you have to have, you know what I'm saying? You have to have these things. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Period. And that we could just go on and on about just relationships and marriage, period, in the black community. But
yeah.
let's go over to my brother Jabari. Go over to my cousin. And would you ever? I believe me and you spoke about this. Would you ever be in a polygamous or polygynous relationship? Why or why not?
Well, honestly, I would say no, just because a lot of what you said come factors into it. I mean, if it's me, I don't feel that I would have what it takes to be in a relationship with more than one person at the same time. Not only emotionally, but just kind of putting in the work for it. And I look back at the most specific thing that I think about that would kind of affect my decision here. One being the emotional aspect to it, where everybody has emotions. So to me, it's like if I'm devoting my all my feelings to one person, then I feel that that's what it is. But outside of that, I look at my father and his situation, his polygamy.
No, no,
It, to me,
I'm
it's
good.
like
I'm saying just let me know when you're
Go
going to.
ahead, keep going, brother.
to me, it's like you know,
All right.
could I
All right, go.
support two women? And in the way he does, I mean, it's mostly kind of the Muslim aspect where it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of frowned upon for the women to have jobs, or I'm not really 100% sure, so I don't really want to speak on it. But neither of his wives have jobs, and he's supporting them equally. And to me, that's something that I know that, like, I wouldn't want to put myself in that type of responsibility. Like, I wouldn't want to commit to that type of responsibility. But it's
Mm,
it's like that's 50%, maybe I'd say that's 45% the reason.
mm,
55% is that when I find the one, I look at it in this kind of like that Western type of, destiny, there's one girl for you type of way, where it's like, okay, so I devote all of my emotions and all of my feelings to figuring out that one relationship. So to me, it's like I'm kind of geared for that monogamous relationship based on what I've been through in my life.
mm,
So but it's interesting. I keep an open mind about it because I know I'm young, You know, so there's always things that could change my mind and things like that. But you know, where I currently stand, I don't see it as something that I would do. You know, and I'm still trying to, I'm like I said, I'm trying to keep an open mind about it. But you know, the way I
Now,
view it, there's just no way like I could see myself doing it.
so we have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes of free discussion time. Real quick, my favorite part of the conversation because now we can just talk without me looking at the sheet. Now, I noticed that both of you, and this is going to speak volumes to the viewers. Both of you said that you probably couldn't do polygamy, though you were raised in it, right? Because of the time and the energy and the money that goes into it. Um, but like I just got this from a viewer, apparently, they said, or he said, I should say, maybe it's because you're judging it on. Hey, Amara, can you mute your mic while you're doing whatever you're doing?
Oh no, I'm good.
Um, okay. A brother said maybe it's because you guys have been, and I'm going to tell you this ahead of time. He is anti-religious. Amar, I'm going to tell you who he is after the show because he's actually a guru. But he said, in fact, maybe it's because your religion. Maybe you guys don't want to do it because of the way your religion handles polygyny versus the way um, modern society does maybe polygamy outside of religion or African centeredness. So, Jabari, what would you have to say to somebody who says, "Well, I think that your dad only did it the religious way, and maybe you need to practice it and find a different way to practice it"?
Well, I mean, to me, it's definitely, you know, it's. I'm not sure if it's a decision. I'm pretty sure that it's not required of the religion. You know, so I don't know, but you know, if I'm still trying to look at what I see as religion or what I consider to be religion, I think that you know, it's kind of hard to claim one faith. You know, you. So I keep an open mind. You know, to me, it's like religion doesn't really play too much of a role in my decision about polygamy, just because. I mean, you know, what's funny is it might. But the reason why I say it doesn't is because to me, you know, religion is such an open thing. Like, you know, I believe in the circle of life. I believe that, you know, there's karma, and that's basically how we pay or don't pay for our actions. You know, so when it comes down to whether or not it would be right or wrong based on my religion, there's not really much that would be wrong based on my religion. You know, and polygamy isn't really one of them. Like, as long as you're capable of supporting that other person, you know, supporting your two wives without there really being a lack or a problem or a fault in, you know, one or the other, I think that polygamy is definitely right, you know, as long as everyone agrees. So to me, it's like they
Right.
don't, it's just not religion for me.
Okay. What about you, Amara? Some people say that you only have a religious. Well, not some people. A brother said that maybe you have a very religious way of looking at polygyny, and maybe you should explore other ways to practice polygyny outside of the traditional Islamic fashion.
I agree with Jabari because while my parents may be Muslim, I don't practice any religion. I'm not.
Kudos to you.
I don't practice it. So when you say maybe if I see it at a religious view, I don't just because I don't practice it, not anymore. Um, so definitely definitely when I speak my views on it, it's coming from my own personal views. It has no standing ground based off of religion. But that doesn't mean uh, it still doesn't mean that I don't uh, consider it. Like, you know, you look at it, it's like, oh shit, yeah, this shit looks cool, but it's like ultimately you do.
I'm sorry,
Like,
brother.
yo, like that's like nah, no funny shit though. Like seriously, people try
What
to
about
look at
that?
it.
What about that country, brother? This is my question for y'all.
Mm.
So there's a country. Well, I heard this was a hoax, but it was everywhere. There's it might not even be a country. Was it a state in Ethiopia? I can't remember. Somewhere in the Ethiopian area.
I saw. I think
I
it's
think.
just. I think it's the whole. I think it was the whole country.
Well,
Of
either way,
Ethiopia.
let's just say it's Ethiopia. Let's just hypothetically say it's Ethiopia.
Yeah.
I might have to reread it. but supposedly they were making men, right,
I
be
seen
married
it
to two women or
on
face
risk
life in
jail
prison.
time. Yeah.
Okay. Now a lot of people ask why would they do such. I didn't agree with their tactics, but I will agree with them taking initiative. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because a lot of times when we talk about polygamy, whether a woman or a man says yes or no, you hear a lot of I, me, I. Not to come at y'all, but it's just what you hear when people say yes and no when they talk about polygamy. And it used to not be a choice because in African traditional sense that it was never about the self, it was always about, as my brother said before, the village. What is better for the community? What helps the people? And so Ethiopia is saying like, look man, we need help. After this war we had between each other, we don't have a lot of men. We don't have the men to match with every woman. We need men to marry more women. We need women in more households. You know. And so, what do you say to people who say you're? Because I am actually one of the people, period, who say when you make a decision that you know is good or bad for the people, it should never be I. It should be we. So, what do y'all say to that? Do y'all think that this, when talking about polygamy, should it be, well, hey, if it's beneficial for the community, I'll try it, or should it be like, well, look, I cannot do that. I don't want to do it. I think it's a headache. That's what I used to say. So, what do y'all say to that?
Well, I think it's a good point. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, because I believe in utilitarianism, so I believe you should try to do the most good for the most people.
Mm,
So if you're thinking about the community, then it's like that's such a good point. I never really thought about it that way. So if I looked at it and I said, well, it's better for the community for me to be able to support two women, or for me to be in a relationship, a marriage with two women, then I mean, I could see that, because I try to keep an open mind about it, but it would be difficult for me to kind of like accept that. Not that I wouldn't be able to, but it would just be a little bit difficult. Like, the ego is so strong, so it's like part of me is like, I should be able to do whatever I want to do, but if
mm,
it, in terms of, is it good for the community, and if I found out that, it would really benefit the community for that to be, which, I'm sure that on some level it does, and that's something I'm gonna take into consideration. I would be more likely to accept it. Like, I would look towards it. I would do what I could
mm,
to kind of understand it.
mm. Okay, very open-minded of you, brother. What about you, Amar?
Definitely. If you think about it in the aspect of what's good for the community, then definitely I could consider it even further than I would normally would. But I would also take in consideration that being the center of the polygamous relationship, I would have to consider myself, because ultimately, while you may want to do what's good for the community, you also have to take yourself into consideration about whether or not it was possible of you to participate in it.
Mm,
Like, you couldn't just say, "Oh, the community needs you. You need to do this." Okay, but understand that if I'm not able to maintain this relationship, even though it is for the good, it's ultimately going to run amok. It's going to ultimately run
mm,
amok. So you know what I'm
mm,
saying, and then ultimately you'd be doing more damage to the community if what if trying to be in a polygamous relationship would do, as opposed to just remaining monogamous.
mm,
Like, especially because then, like I said, once again, if it starts to go bad when you're doing it, then it constitutes a problem of, okay, well, this is a bad look. Now polygamy is starting to look like something that should have continued being taboo. So definitely, like I said, I'm all about helping the community. As you know, that's what we do as groups. We try to help the community, help our fellow man. But I won't do anything that would compromise the integrity of what it was originally meant to do,
mm,
which the origins of polygamy was to unite people as well as help one another.
Facts. That's important. The origins of polygamy is to unite people and to help others. Now, last thing. This is going to be the closing thing. Now, when you think also polygamy may, because you brothers both brought up some good points in a polygamous relationship. You know, I mean, the woman can work, but you're still the man, and the man is still supposed to be provider A. You know what I'm saying? The first option of maintaining and providing. So, with that being said, do you think that in a community setting, let me say, not in what we have today, in a real community setting, do you think it would also help black men step up? If we told black men, hey, you want multiple women, well, you can't unless you're willing to be A, B, and C. Me personally, I think that only leaders, not, I mean, don't get me wrong, other people should be able to do it. I am at the belief that I think leaders should have to do it, but that's a whole nother conversation. But what do you think about it helping men step up? You know, because I'm sure your fathers, both of your fathers, had to learn a lot and grow a lot and work a lot harder than some of these men in monogamous relationships may have to work. So, what do you think when some people say, "Hey, polygamy helps men step up"? One practice, right?
I think that
Yeah. Go ahead, Jabari.
no, I was just I think that people really have to step up to be in that situation. And if it's like, if you want that, you have to step up. I think that that's just 100% true. It's like you know that, as part of two relationships, you're going to have to provide at least half for two relationships. So that's automatically more than you would have to provide if you were just in one relationship and you were only giving 50%. So it's like, to me, the implications behind, wanting to be in a polygamous relationship, it automatically means you're going to have to at least push yourself enough to be with two people. Like, we shouldn't underestimate what it is to literally be with two people at the same time. It's in no way a lack of responsibilities. It's in no way, just a benefit. Like, you get not only the benefit, but also the responsibilities that come with caring for two people like that. So to me, it's like it would definitely mean step up if we're telling people to be, polygamous, or that if they want that polygamous relationship, they're gonna definitely have to, get to that level to where it's possible to sustain it.
I agree.
Opinion pretty much is going to be pretty much along the same along pretty much along set. It's going to be along the same set of lines that if you want it, you'll step up for it. But ultimately, for me, my belief is one should not have to be persuaded to step up. As a man, it should already be ingrained in you to be a leader. Before you even start talking about, you want to do this, or you trying to have that. You know what I mean?
Good point. It's
I
already
agree.
in you.
Yeah, like, come on, like, men. I don't want to say men have been taking care of shit since the beginning, because I still have my own views. Like, if we really want to go down that road, but definitely, it's my belief that if you choose to be in a polygamous relationship, whatever the man is making, the man tries to be able to provide for both households, 100. So if the wife chooses to work, then whatever she makes is for incidentals or vacations, or or just extra money. But ultimately, like I said, a man, if he's gonna embark on that next step, he himself has to be able to provide 100%.
For both women.
Yeah.
I agree 100, brother. But we are running out of time. I agree with the brothers have said tonight. Now, I want to say to the people who are texting me and saying that they're coming from an Islamic point of view, duh, but that's not what it's about. What they're speaking on is outside of Islam as far as stepping up and providing, and that's in all cultures of men as who have more than one wife. Who even just have one wife, okay? Men are supposed to step up. Men are supposed to be the providers, period. So it should come to no surprise that if you do have another wife, if you are married to two women, you do have to make a lot of money. You do have to be a leader. You know what I'm saying? That does come with it. Responsibility is important. So that's not just Islam. You know, that's period. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, don't get me wrong. There's circumstances like in Ethiopia or in America here where we talk about, okay, we need it because there's not enough women to, there's not enough men for each woman. Of course, no doubt. But originally, they're speaking of where it came from culturally, which is a man has to provide. Okay, no matter what, monogamous, polygamous, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You are married and you are a man, you have to provide. So I'm glad for their insight. These are children of polygamy, and they are children of Islamic polygyny, but that is still polygamy as y'all know it. And you guys gave great perspectives. I have people who are texting me and telling me they love what y'all are saying. So I will have y'all probably on future panels. Please say who you are, sign out. You can give me your Instagram or whatever may have you. Then I'm gonna say a little something. That's gonna be it.
All right. Well, you guys can definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DJ Biggleflex, DJBIGGAFLEXX. Um, just follow me. You'll see all party updates, and definitely I will be here next time for the next debate.
Yeah, I mean, my name's Jabari Kalanji. You know, you can look me up on Facebook. I'm not really messing with too much else right now, but you know, if I come back on next time, I'll definitely give you guys the info. But yeah, Facebook, hit me up. You know, I might be working on something in the future, so you know, keep an open look. Right?
Most, most definitely.
Tell this
Now,
man Elohim to finish that new Bible.
it's coming. It's coming. It's on its way. Everybody, y'all heard it first. June 18th, 2016. The new Bible is on its way. But to sign out, just to give y'all a little bit of facts before we leave, the viewers. Um, well, one, the next event is are men made for monogamy? Are black men made for monogamy? I'm also
Yep.
having a video discussion with Ayana or Divine Stargate about the do's and don't in polygamy, what polygamy is, what is not. Um, Now, I would like to say, just as a note leaving, again, polygyny used to be practiced more than monogamy up until 300 years ago, give or take, due to the rise of Christianity. This is a very important historical fact. Psychologists and biologists point to the fact that people, women and men, are naturally polygynous. Okay, very important fact. Also, last but not least, anytime you're engaging in polygamy, know that you have to be married to be in polygamy. And when you're married, as a man, you do have to be the provider. Know the difference between pre-polygamy, polyamory, and polygamy because they are not the same. Okay? So, I wish all of y'all protect, peace, blessings. Go follow me at Alchemets. That's AL_KEMETS. Share this. Subscribe. Like. All that good stuff. Group Our Groups Fellowship Incorporated. I am a teacher at Ideal Academy. And I wish you many love and blessings.